Why the hell is a mortgage podcast talking about oil tankers?
Target, Echo 1-1.
Roger, Echo 1-1. Ready to fire.
When we fire, they will know where we are.
Because the market just proves something brutal. Your mortgage plan can get flipped overnight. Most Americans went to bed thinking things were calming down and woke up in a totally different global game.
The attack in Iran, day 5 of the war with Iran and the deadly conflict now spreading thousands of miles away. This is video from an American submarine as it torpedoed an Iranian warship in the Indian Ocean.
Right now, about 150 tankers are stacked up outside the Strait of Hormuz, with roughly 200 to 300 million barrels stuck in limbo.
Yeah, and the Strait moves about 20 million barrels per day, roughly about 20% of the world's oil. So when that corridor destabilizes,
the conflict has so far had a dramatic effect on the price of oil due to fears that the US and Israel's huge military campaign could spread across the world's most important oil-producing region.
oil risk pushes inflation expectations higher, and inflation expectations move bond markets. And bond investors, they move the 10-year Treasury, and that anchors long-term mortgage pricing.
U.S. stocks ended lower on Thursday as the Middle East conflict entered its 6th day, pushing oil prices higher and spurring worries about inflation and whether the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates.
And we just watched the 10-year dip under the 4 handle for about 72 hours and then snap back when the fear shifted from growth to inflation. But mortgage rates are still hanging around 6.12%. Hope sinks battleships, and as you've all seen in real life, riding on hope alone only does one thing for you. It sinks you.
Yeah, so today's episode is about keeping home ownership afloat in uncharted waters and showing you how to move from defense to offense.
Put the force of weapons posture 1. Warning red. Weapons tight. I want everything loaded.
Before the next wave hits.
Get ready. This is the Mortgage 101 podcast. Here's the cliffhanger question. If the world can move oil, inflation, and the 10-year in a weekend, why are you trying to time your home purchase? Like you control the weather? And more importantly, what does a smart buyer do right now when rates don't crash and inventory isn't flooding and sellers aren't panicking?
So in the next 20 minutes, we're going to give you the scoreboard, rent numbers, price numbers, inventory, the 10-year, and mortgage spreads. And then we're going to give you the move, the one action this week that turns you into a strike group, not just a sitting duck.
To be with you, I'm Katie Tur. Welcome to the F around and find out presidency.
So, if you're a renter waiting for the perfect time, this episode's for you because timing is a feeling, positioning is a system, and systems beat feelings in every uncertain market.
Man your battle station. Man your battle station. It's electronic talking Battleship from Milton Bradley. So real, it really talks. Battleship armed. Battleship armed. We're talking instant programming, free skill levels, and only Milton Bradley's got them. Carrier hit. Carrier hit. Against the computer or opponent, your mission, sink the enemy's fleet. Battleship sunk. Battleship sunk.
Yeah, now you're talking.
Electronic talking Battleship and original Battleship, only from Milton Bradley.
Here's the trap. People compare future lower rate to today's payment, but they ignore the carry cost of waiting. They ignore the rent. They ignore the price drift. They ignore the risk that credit, income, or savings is going to change.
Yeah, also, a lot of buyers think that houses are sitting, so it must be a buyer's market. But 46 days on the market is not a flood, and 3.5 months of supply is still below balance.
Segment 1. The cost of waiting. Waiting sounds responsible, but the math is ugly. Mortgage rates are about 6.12% today, down from roughly 6.85% a year ago. So people tell themselves, I'll just wait for 5 or something.
Yeah, but while you wait, life still charges you rent. Zillow's typical asking rent is about $1,900, up 2% year over year. The census median rent is about $1,400 a month. So in 1 year, rent costs roughly $16,000 to $17,000 on a medium, or about $22,000 at typical asking rent. That's after tax money, and it brings you zero equity.
Now stack that against what waiting saves. Let's use a clean example here. A $400,000 loan amount at 6.12%. Principal and interest payment is about $2,400 a month, and at 5.5%, that's about $2,271. So that's around $158 a month savings, or just under $1,900 a year. So waiting for a lower rate might save you just under $2,000 for the year, but renting can cost you over $17 to $22,000 for that year. So what makes sense?
Yeah, and price, it doesn't pause for your feelings. The median existing home price right now is just under $400,000, up about 1% year over year. Even with a 1% move, that's nearly $4,000. That's a big difference.
Now, look at supply. Inventory is about 3.7 months. A balanced market is usually about 4.5 to 6 months. Median days on the market is about 46 days. That's not a collapse, that's stabilization.
Yeah, and here's a good Mortgage 101 moment, the spread. A spread is the difference between a 10-year Treasury and a 36-year fixed rate. The 10-year is around 4.03%, while mortgage rates are around 6.12%. So that spread is roughly about 2%. Now, historically, that spread should be closer to 1.5 to 1.75. But when volatility rises, lenders widen spreads to protect themselves. So the strategy, I'll wait for rates to drop fast, quietly assumes spreads compress fast. And that's just not guaranteed, especially in this market.
Anthony, here's the trap. People compare future lower rate to today's payment, but they ignore the carry cost of waiting. They ignore the rent. They ignore the price drift. They ignore the risk that credit, income, or savings is going to change.
Yeah, also, a lot of buyers think that houses are sitting, so it must be a buyer's market. But 46 days on the market is not a flood, and 3.5 months of supply is still below balance. So sellers aren't forced to cut. Many are simply waiting for their numbers. And concessions, they're getting harder to win as these buyers gain more confidence and they return to the market.
So the real question for a renter is simple. Not will the rate be lower, but will my total position be stronger? Because timing tries to win one variable, the rate, while positioning wins multiple variables all at once. Payment stability, equity growth, and a refinance opportunity later.
Yeah, and when the markets go into defense posture, spreads, they can widen, and rates, they stay range bound. So waiting doesn't delay your purchase, it can delay your progress as well.
What? New recon jets, bigger firing patterns, the most advanced battleship ever. Well, move it!
Advanced mission selected.
New electronic battleship advanced mission. Enemy sighted.
Let's talk about why the oil tanker story matters to your mortgage. You didn't sink my battleship, but you did sink my oil tanker. Hey, roughly 150 oil tankers are stalled, about 2 million barrels on each one of them. That's roughly 200 to 300 million barrels being delayed. That's global oil consumption is about 100 million barrels per day. So if you're looking at about 2 or 3 days of global demand just sitting still, it's a problem.
Yeah, those numbers are glaring, right? And the Strait of Hormuz, it handles about 20 to 21 million barrels per day. That's roughly 20% of the global oil supply. So even if the U.S. only sees single-digit exposure through that route, oil is priced globally, and global pricing sets global inflation expectations.
Yeah, and here's why it doesn't affect me is a trap. Oil touches shipping. Shipping touches groceries. Groceries touch CPI. CPI touches bonds. Bonds touch your mortgage. That's the chain.
That's right. And here's some Mortgage 101 facts. The 10-year Treasury is the anchor for long-term borrowing. The mortgages are priced as the 10-year plus the spread. When the world gets noisy, money moves defensively and treasuries can rally, yields can dip, but if the noise is inflationary, yields can snap back even higher.
We saw that exact whiplash. The 10-year dipped under a 4 handle, but it only lasted about 72 hours. Then, out of nowhere, the Iran conflict and the Strait risk hit, and inflation fear returned. That's defense posturing.
Yeah, you said it, out of nowhere, and that posture can last months, not weeks, not days. because investors, they need clarity. And lenders, they keep spreads wider until the runway is visible. And right now, spreads are around 1.2 to 2%. So even if the 10-year moves a little, mortgage rates, they simply don't follow one for one. It's exactly what we're seeing right now.
One more layer. China is the largest buyer of Iranian oil. If the blockade continues, it pressures that flow and it forces global buyers to compete for alternative barrels, which is how a regional event becomes a global price problem. And that's why timing the market is playing defense. You're waiting for calm while the world is literally repricing risk.
And think about how oil is priced with the Brent. So think of Brent as the scoreboard. Brent is a global benchmark. So when Brent moves, markets reprice and inflation expectations go up fast. And that repricing shows up in the 10-year, even if your local gas station hasn't put in the changes yet.
Yeah. And when inflation expectations rise, the market demands a higher yield to hold long bonds. That keeps the 10-year in a sideways range, low fours, instead of letting it trend down cleanly.
Yeah, and so here's the practical mortgage point. Volatility widens mortgage spreads because lenders hedge pipelines and they protect against price swings. So you can have a day where treasuries improve, but mortgages barely budge. And we are seeing this for the past couple of days. You know, Manley and I are looking at things going like, okay, we saw that swing, but we see nothing on the market. And then vice versa, we see nothing on the market, but then we see massive swings on the mortgages. So we are in an uncharted territory world right now. This is textbook.
Yeah, Anthony, this is exactly why buyers who watch headlines get confused. They think rates should be falling, but the market is saying risk first, clarity later.
Yeah, so if your plan was, I'll wait a few weeks, markets will calm down, rates will drop, this event is your reminder. The world doesn't schedule volatility for your convenience. And one shock can reset expectations literally overnight, or in this case, over the weekend.
Hello, let's hear some numbers. I got a nice diagonal going here.
B3.
You sunk my battleship.
All right, let's talk about the important thing, the move, how to position like a strike group. This is a positioning market. Mortgage rates are about 6.12, median price is about 396, inventory is at about 3.7 months. So the question isn't, will rates hit 5? It's, can we sustain the payment?
Yeah, and let's run the ownership math. On a $396,000 home, 1% appreciation, that's about $3,900. On a $400,000 loan at 6.12%, you're paying about $4,800 of principal in year one. That's forced equity. So you can see roughly $8,000 to $9,000 of equity movement in year one. Even with modest appreciation, that still maths out.
Yeah. Now compare that to rent. $17,000 to $22,000 a year, no equity, no optionality.
Yeah. Now zoom to 5 years, right, Manley? Even at 2% annual appreciation, that's about $40,000 in value growth on a $400,000 home and roughly $30,000 in principal reduction over 5 years. And you're around $70,000 in equity position.
And this is the piece renters miss. Positioning gives you options.
Yeah, because if spreads compress about 1 to 1.5 to 1.75, rates can slide into mid-5s. And even if the 10-year doesn't crash, owners, they simply refinance. Renters, you can't refinance. You just get a security deposit back.
So your action this week is simple. Move your battleship from defense to offense. Get fully underwritten, know your payment and today's rate, and be ready to strike when the right house appears, because timing is hope. Positioning is strategy.
Yeah, and a Mortgage 101 reminder, rates and payment are not the same conversation. Payment is the truth. Rates, it's just one ingredient. Taxes, insurance, and the down payment change the payment. So we coach buyers to build around payment comfort, not rate fantasies.
And let's kill the myth, renting is more economical. Renting can feel cheaper month to month, but your rent, 100% interest. It never amortizes, it never appreciates, it never becomes an asset you can borrow against.
That's right. And here's how offense looks. Step 1, get real pre-approved. Not a quick quote. Step 2, verify your income, assets, and debts early because underwriting surprises kill deals. And step 3, build a payment range using today's rate and stress test it. Can you handle it if taxes go up or insurance goes up? Because a lot of times it does.
Step 4, shop for structure. Ask for seller credits when available, but don't depend on them because as the market firms, concessions get harder to extract. Step 5, look for value levers, price reductions, rate buydowns, or homes with a add utility, ADU, or an extra room, or a layout that supports a roommate because affordability is a strategy, not a wish.
That's right. And the key mindset shift, a naval group deploys before the attack, not after. You position early, so when opportunity appears, you move without panic.
That's the whole episode. In uncertain markets, buyers who wait for safety get pushed around. Buyers who build strength stay in control.
C9.
You sunk my battleship!
Okay, folks, now on the ever-popular Rate Tracker segment, where we go over what's going on with mortgage rates and how we pencil it out with our projected forecast we made at the beginning of the year. Anthony, tell us what we got.
All right, starting with January 2026, the 30-year fixed was at 6.64%. It was up due to post-holiday rebound and the market pricing less near-term easing. The 10-year Treasury was sitting around 4.1. Now in February of 2026, the 30-year fixed rose up to 6.9%, up due to hot inflation prints and more hawkish tone from the Feds. The 10-year Treasury pushed even higher. Now, to date, in March of 2026, the 30-year fixed dropped to 6.12, down, and the Treasury dipped under 4% for about 72 hours, and then reversed course after the Iran conflict and Strait risk. So we're sideways. We're not solved. Back to you.
Hey, peak so far, 6.9%. Current, 6.12%. Now, quick forecast check. My range this year was 5.25 to 5.5. Anthony's was a 4.75 to 5.25. I think he revamped that and I think it was more like 5.125 to 5.25. He kind of retracted that in the last show a little bit. Maybe, I don't know. We do have it on recording, so we'll figure that out. But we're not taking the victory laps yet. We're watching these spreads. We're watching inflation and staying positioned.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, Mortgage 101 reminder, the rates you see are driven by the 10-year plus mortgage spread, aka volatility. So if the 10-year drops but the spread widens, volatility appears, the mortgage rates, they stay stubborn. And that's why we track both. I will tell you, going out the gate in January, I was like, yeah, we're going to see a 4-handle Manly. Screw you. We're going to see 4.7. And Manly's like, conventional Tom. Well, I don't think so, Anthony. I think we're going to see like, mid to low 5s. I'm like, oh, you're so off your rocker. No, Manly is on the rocker, and I fell off the rocker. And now with all the boom booms going on in the news, I just don't see us getting a 4-handle, man. I don't see it. There's so much volatility. I just don't see it, man. I think we're going to be, I hate to say it, but yeah, I think you're going to be on the 5.25, the 5.5. Oh, I can't believe I'm saying that. 5.5. We were just there. We were squeaking by. And now we jumped up.
Yeah, exactly, Anthony. I appreciate you saying that. And, we have so much volatility that's out there. This is going to happen. The big question for next month is, does the volatility fade and do spreads start to compress back towards normal? If yes, then we'll see those rates drift lower. If no, we stay range bound. And that's why you don't build your life on one forecast. You build your plan around what you can afford today.
J7.
Hit. I hit. You have sunk my battleship.
All right. Time for the Buzzword Breakdown with producer Ryan. Hit us, Ryan.
5 buzzwords, short answers, Mortgage 101. First one today is defense posture. Manly, tell us about it.
Hey, defense posture is when markets move to safety during uncertainty. Spreads widen, lenders price risk higher.
All right. Second up is mortgage spread. Anthony?
Yeah, we're not talking about your sandwich. We're talking about mortgages. The spread is the gap between the 10-year Treasury and the mortgage rate. Right now, it's about 1.9 to 2%. That's a lot of peanut butter.
Making me hungry. All right. Third, safe haven buying. Manly?
Hey, investors buying treasuries during fear, pushing yields down temporarily.
Fourth, range-bound market. Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, rates moving sideways, not up or down, in a band because forces push both directions. So we don't see higher, we don't see lower. They just stay stagnant.
All right. Fifth, positioning. Manly?
Hey, building readiness and acting on today's numbers instead of waiting for perfect timing.
That is it. Back to you. And a quick reminder, if you're listening in the car, don't try to memorize this. Just remember the pattern. Volatility widens spread. Wider spreads keep rates sticky, and sticky rates punish people who only have a waiting plan.
Hey, and that's why we keep saying rate is not the goal. Payment stability is the goal.
That's right. And when you hear spread, think of it like between the 10-year and your mortgage. The toll gets more expensive when the market feels risk.
Last thing, if you want us to break down a buzzword you keep hearing, drop it in the comments and we'll hit you next week. Back to you, Manly.
Thank you, Ryan.
B6?
You sank my submarine.
Elaine?
You didn't sink my battleship, but you did sink the oil tanker. One corridor that moves about 20% of global oil supply destabilized the markets fast. The 10-year dipped under 4, then reversed. The mortgage rate stayed near 6.12, and then hope sinks battleships. Positioning keeps them afloat.
Here's the final fact. The world consumes about 100 million barrels of oil per day. About 20 million of that moves through the Strait of Hormuz. Energy moves inflation, inflation moves bonds, and bonds move mortgages. Everything is interconnected.
So don't wait for the calm. Deploy with preparation. Move your battleship. If this episode helped you, like, follow, and subscribe. We don't give out opinions, we give numbers. Hey, share this with someone waiting for perfect timing, because timing is hope, positioning is strategy. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, and if you're a renter listening to this, the point isn't to panic. The point is to prepare. Get your numbers, get your approval, and get your plan going.
Because the next headline will show up without permission. We want you positioned before it does. All right, we'll catch you on the next episode. And one more favor. If you got value today, send this to one person who keeps saying, I'm just going to wait. That share might save them a year. Period.
Hey, Manly, do you want to know an interesting fact?
Anthony, I would absolutely love to hear one of your wonderful factoids.
Do you know what the average age of a Green Bay Packer is?
23, 24?
67. Isn't that crazy?
Not exactly sure what you're referring to, if you're talking about a player or a fan now. Maybe you're talking about a fan.
Nope. I'm talking about the players. That's all for now.